prapadye. Lakshmendra Simha Tava Pada Saroja Yugme Brahmendra Rudra Muni Brinda Shirobhivandye Srimat Shatari Yatiraja Supujitecha Shuddham Madhya Hridayam Dridamastu Lagnam Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmalaspatika Kritim Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmahe Sankalpakalpalatikam avadim kshamayah svechavaraha mahishim sulabhanukampam vishwasya mataramakhinchana kamadhenum vishwambharama sharana sharanam prapadye ashesha vikna shamanam anikeshwaramashraye shrimathak karunam bhodau shikshasrota ivotitam Shriman Venkatanatharya Kavitarkiga Kesari Vedantacharya Varyo me Sannidhattam Sada Hridi Prapadye Niravadyanam Nishadyam Gunasampadam Sharanam Bhavabhitanam Shatakopamunishwaram Shri Ranganatha Shatakopayatindra Drishtam Lakshmendra Simha Shadajit Karunaika Patram Shri Rangavira Raghurat Shatakoparhyam Vedanta Deshikayatindra Maham Prapadye Srimatranga Shatari Samyamivarat Labdhagamantadvayam Srimadvira Raghutvahaadya Sharajit Padaravindashrayam Srimadvedavatam Sadeshikayatehe Karunya Vikshaspadam Seve Rangadhurina Shasanavasham Narayanam Yoginam Vedanta Deshikayatindra Kataksha Labdhatrayanta Gunam Budagryam Narayanadhyayati Dhurya Kripabhishiktam Sri Ranganatayati Shekaram Shriyamam Srimatranga Shatari Yogi Charananyasthatma Raksha Bharam Srimatranga Shatari Veera Raghurat Labdhagamantadvayam Ishyadhamba Vivarjitam Shubhagunaihi Bhantam Mahatvam Shajam Vande Vatsa Vibhushanam Budhavaram Sri Krishna Maryam Sada. Hi everyone, Namaskar. So before we start today's session, I want to take a minute and talk about our Villivalam Srimad Aragiya Singer, because it was his Aradhana Dinam just a couple of days back. And 1 year back, we started the story session on his Aradhanam day. Okay. And all of us here would agree that if many of us are deep-rooted in Sampradayam today, it is because of our Villivaram Srimad Aragiya Singer. And each one of us have a special relationship with Aishingar that is very special to each and every one of us. So let's pray to him that he continuously showers his blessings on us so that we are always deep-rooted in Sampradayam and follow the path of Dharma. Okay. With that, what we will do is that we will actually go into today's story. So let me quickly share my screen. Today, our topic is Prithu Charithram. Okay, Prithoho Charithram. We are going to see the life history of Prithu Maharaja. Now, my usual question to you all, right? Anyone has heard of this story before? Life history of Prithu Maharaja? Or you have heard of Prithu Maharaja before? No one? Okay, then we will look at him. Inadma?
I haven't heard of him.
Very good. Then you can help me with the story today, okay, as we go into it. So the Prithu Charithram, before we go into...
No, I actually meant I haven't heard of him.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, then good. This is something new that we are going to learn today together, okay? So before we actually go into...
I have heard his name before, but I don't know the full story.
Okay, no problem. That's why we are going to look into that today. But if you all have any information on Prithu, just feel free to jump in when I actually take the story, okay? So some background information about Prithu, right? So long time back when we started this story session, we saw Dhruva Charithram, right? Dhruvan was a great kid. He was Bhagavad Bhaktaha. Perumal was Pratyaksham to him and he did stuti on Perumal. We all know that, right? But what after Dhruvan, right? Did it stop right there? What happened to his lineage and all those things, right? We also heard about Prahlada Charithram long time back. And we know that Prahladan's grandson was Bali Chakravarti and Perumal took Vamana Avataram for Bali Chakravarti, right? And we know that lineage of Prahladan. But what about Dhruvan? So that's where Prithu comes into the picture, because Prithu is actually the Vamshavali of Dhruva Maharaja. Okay, he comes from the same lineage as Dhruva Maharaja. And we are going to see why he is great. Why does he have a place in our Puranams? And what is so great about him? What did he do is what we are going to see in today's session. Okay. And as usual, before we talk about any story, the source for that story, right? So Prithu Charithram is actually listed in detail in Puranams like Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Vishnu Puranam. And apart from that, Sri Narayana Bhattatri has written Prithu Charithram in Srimad Narayaniyam in Ashtadasha Dashakam, the 18th Dashakam. So today's session, we are going to look at this story as detailed in Srimad Narayaniyam, with some references from Bhagavatam as well as from Vishnu Puranam. Okay, so this is the background information for today's story. So we'll actually jump into the story. We will start the story with Dhruvan, right? We all know that Dhruvan went to the forest and meditated on Perumal. He did a great penance that Perumal was pratyaksham in front of Dhruvan. On seeing Perumal in front of, on top of Garudan in front of him, Dhruvan was overcome with emotion. He wanted to do a stuti on Perumal. He wanted to praise Perumal, but he was just a kid, right? He couldn't even form proper words. How can he even do the stuti? So he was just there looking at Perumal helplessly, right? I wanted to do stuti, but I don't know what to do. What will I do? That's when what Perumal did was he took his conch and then touched Dhruvan's cheek. And immediately Dhruvan was able to form a stuti on Perumal. The Dhruva stuti is very famous in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Perumal's greatness is so much that Dhruvan, without learning anything, immediately composed a padyam in Vasanta Tilaka meter. And this is the first padyam that we are going to see and go into the story. And this is a very famous padyam where Dhruvan praises Perumal, saying that it is Perumal who is making me do all these things by being my antaryami. Even in many upanyasams, you see the upanyasakas, before they start the bhashanam, they say this padyam and then only they start their upanyasams. Anyone know this padyam? If yes, I want you to recite it rather than me saying it. Yontaf pravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam. Anyone? अस्तु चिन्ता नास्ति सञ्जीवयत्यखिल शक्तिधर स्वधाम्ना अन्यान् च हस्तचरण श्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तस्मै. So this is a very famous shlokam where Dhruvan says to that Parama Purushan, to that Bhagavan, my namaha, mama salutations to him, who is inside me as antaryami, and he is the one who is triggering the sleeping words inside me, the prasuptam imam vacham, right? The sleeping words inside me, he is the one who triggered it. It is because he triggered it by being inside me, I am now able to do this stuti on him. So it is because of his karuna. And who is this Perumal? Swadhamna akila shakti daraha. By his own prowess, by his own radiance, by his own splendor, he is bearing this entire universe, is what Dhruvan says. And not only, he did not just trigger just these words, right? Anya senses, all the other senses, like the hastaha, my hands are working because it is Perumal who is doing it. My charanaha, feet, they are working because of Perumal. Shravanaha, ears, twag, the skin, and then the pranan, right? My life force, everything is being triggered and awakened, and it's doing the job that it needs to do because of Perumal. So to that Perumal, mama namaha, right? Such a very nice message to Perumal, thanking him for making us do the daily rituals or the daily things that we do, is the Dhruva Stutihi in Bhagavatam. And then after he does the stuti, what Dhruvan does is that he goes back to the kingdom. He gets crowned as the king. And he was a great ruler. He took care of his kingdom. The kingdom flourished. People loved him. He took care of his citizens. And he was a great ruler. And then once he was old, he handed over the throne to his sons. And then he went to the forest to do meditation on Perumal. And in Narayaniyam, Bhattatri actually jumps from Dhruvan directly to a king called Angan, who is probably the 5th or 6th generation after Dhruvan. But in Bhagavatam and Vishnu Puranam, they have given in detail as to the sons of Dhruvan and how the throne got handed over. So I've listed the names here, but since we are following Srimad Narayaniyam, I will also jump directly to Angan. And Angan was also a great king. Also, from Dhruvan until Angan, all were just like Dhruvan. They were Bhagavad Bhaktas, and they ruled the kingdom really well. And then they took care of their citizens, and people loved them, and they were very nice, and the country flourished. So everything happened until Angan. And then now is the twist, right? Angan had a son called Venan. This Venahan was Mahadushtan. Okay, he was so bad. He was wicked. Even wicked is fine, right? He was very cruel. He was troubling others and was getting happiness out of it. So he was just like Asamanjas. Have you all heard of Asamanjas? is the Sagara's son, right? Sagaran had 60,000 sons through one wife and one son through the other wife, and his name is Asamanjas. This Asamanjas, actually what he does is, what he used to do is that he used to push all the children into the water, into the lake, and then they will drown. On seeing that, he'll be happy, he will clap his hands and all those things. So he was such a cruel person. And Venan was no different from Asamanjas. So he was very bad. And then on seeing his son Angan was very sad. Oh my God, here we are like this. And look at this Venan, he's so bad, right? Now, we all have a question in our mind, right? This is Dhruvan's Vamsham, right? And everybody is Bhagavad Bhakta. Perumal is Pratyaksham to Dhruvan, and all of them are nice. Why should a person like Venan be born in this family? Right? That's a question we all have, we all would get, right? The answer to that is the law of the nature. We cannot do anything. That is Angas Karma, is what we can say. But Swami Deshikan explains this very beautifully in his Subhashita Nivi. Okay, as I told you all before, Subhashita Nivi is a Niti Kavyam written by Swami Deshikan, imparting moral values. Here in Asevya Paddhatihi, he says this Padyam. Mitre bhavati vaimukyam maitri doshakarena cha api tirtha prasutanam kairavanam rajobhrutam. So most of the padyams in Subhashita Nivi, Swami Deshikan has employed Sleshalankar, which means there are multiple meanings to this padyam. No matter which angle you took, you can take any meaning and look at this padyam, it will give you a meaningful meaning for the padyams. So here, and Sri Uve Uttamur Swami has given around 29 to 30 meanings just for this one padyam, but we are going to see only the high level view of this padyam in today's session. And here we are going to see it in two angles. One, the Kairava actually refers to lilies, and then it also refers to wicked person. So we are going to see the meaning if we take lily as the meaning of Kairava, and we are going to look at the meaning of the padyam if we take wicked person as Kairava. So let's go into the lily. But before we go into that, some fact, right? Lilies always bloom in the night, right? And then it closes its petals during the morning. And then lotus blooms in the morning, but it closes its petals in the evening, right? And then the other thing is that we don't use lilies for any of our puja-di karmas. We use only lotus. And mainly in our sampradayam, only from Suryodayam until Suryastamam, we do all the good karyams, right? After Suryastamam, we generally don't do it. We sleep early and then we get up early at Brahma Muhurtam, and from Suryodayam and Suryastamanam is what we do the work. Now with that, let's look into this padyam. Right? So here Swami Deshikan says, what does this lily do? Mitre bhavati vaimukyam. These lilies turn their face away from Mitran. Mitraha here actually refers to Suryan. Okay, Suryan is also called as Mitraha. So this lily turns their face away from Suryan. And then Maitri Doshakaran. Doshakaran, moon's another name is Doshakaran in Sanskritam. So it says it makes friendship with the moon. And then what does it do? Apitirtha prasutanam. Even though it is born in the same water as that of the lotus. What does this Kairavam do, this lilies do? Because of their rajas. Rajas here actually means the pollen. Because how the pollens are structured for lilies, the pollination happens only at night. But for lotus, it happens at the day. So because of their rajas, they just bloom at night is what he says. Now here we have to be very careful, right? This is Kavi Samartyam. This is a drishtantam, an example, an illustration that Swami Deshikan is giving. We should not say that, oh, Swami Deshikan is scolding lilies. No, that's not that. You just have to take the meaning here. Now let's look at this meaning when we take Kairava as a wicked person, right? What does the wicked person do? Mitre bhavati vaimukyam. Here mitram means a good friend or a good people, a sajjanaha. So what does the wicked people do? They turn their face away from all good people. And then Maitri Doshakaran. Doshakaran means, again, wicked people or faulty people who does all the faults. Dosham karoti iti doshakaraha. So they keep their friendship with all these other wicked people and they turn their face away from the good people. Apitirtha prasutanam. Even though they are born in the good family. So the word tirtha has many meanings, right? One is the water that we saw. And then the second is even sannyasis are also called as tirtha. That's why we call Narayana tirtha, etc. Right? The third meaning for tirtha is a good people, right? They are also called as tirthaha. So even if they are born for good people, because of their rajogunam, here the rajas means the rajogunam, the wicked people will keep association only with wicked and they will turn their face away from the good people because that is their nature, law of the nature. We cannot do anything. So we have to stay away from that people is what Swami Deshikan says here. So Venan was also like that because of his Rajogunam and previous karma. He was very bad and he was born to this family. And even now in many of the families we see, right, there will be many people, everyone will be good in a family, but there will be one person who always fights with everyone, who always cries, troubles everyone, and then creates all the troubles. So that just is the karma, and that is how it happens. So that's what Swami Deshikan is saying. And even in Subhashita Nivi, there are so many things that Swami Deshikan says as matter of fact, there are bad people, there are good people. Why are the bad people troubling the good people, even if the good people don't go in the bad people's way? Swami Deshikan says that is the law of the nature. If there is a good people, the bad people will want to trouble them. So you don't go into their path. No amount of prayashittam is going to resolve that for us. So you don't go into their path. You do Perumal's nama and then go ahead in your life, is what Swami Deshikan says. So Subhashita Nivi is actually a treasure. Okay. So similarly,
I have a question.
Solama.
In the Padyam it says Rajoganam, right?
Rajobritam. Huh.
So I thought bad people mostly have Tamogunam, right?
Tama, Rajas. Tamas is mostly sleepy, lazy. Those are all Tamoguna people. Rajogunam is you actually go and fight with everyone and then create trouble. That is Rajogunam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tamas will make you sleepy, lazy, will not be feeling doing any work. So that is Tamogunam. Astum. And then Angaha was very troubled by his son's behavior. So he went and advised his son, Papa, don't be like this. We always have to be good. If we are good, then Perumal will like us. If Perumal likes us, we will always attain good things in our life. So try to change yourself. Be good. Look at your ancestors. Everyone were good. Perumal is Pratyaksham for Dhruvan. So why are you like this? But Angan was like, come on, who are you to advise me? Don't give me all these advice. I don't want to listen to all these things, is what Angan said. And Venan said, and he continued to be bad, right? And at a point, Angan was so frustrated with his son that without informing anyone, what he did was he just left the kingdom. And in the middle of the night, he actually went to the forest to do the tapas, okay? Now, why is he doing that? What troubled him? Because he felt that his son's behavior, a person like this is adding only to the burden on this earth, right? Is not doing any good thing. What is the use, is what he said, and he went. Now, here I want to talk about one more padyam by Bhartruhari, who in his Niti Shatakam, where he says, Esham na vidyana tapo na danam jnanam na shilam na guno na dharmaha te martya loke bhuvibhara bhuta manushya rupena mrigascharanti. So what Bhartrhari says is that if a person doesn't have vidya, education, tapas, right, the duty or the penance that you have to do, dhanam, you don't do any charity, jnanam, you don't have wisdom or intelligence, sheelam, you don't have character, gunaha, you don't have any good qualities, dharmaha, you don't follow any dharma. What is the use of that person in this world, right? They are only adding the burden to this world. They are actually in the form of a human, but they are just animals, just doing the sancharam in this world, is what Bhartruhari says in Niti Shatakam. And that's what Angan also felt was his son. So that's why he was frustrated and he left the kingdom and he went into the forest. Now, a kingdom without a king is vulnerable, right? So the Rajyam became Arajakam. In Tamil we say, right, Arajakam pannada, Arajakama irukku, like that, right? So that is a word that is borrowed from Sanskritam. What does that mean? Raja na vidyate yasmin, tad Arajakam iti. Where there is no Raja, that is called as Arajakam. Now, if there is no king, no ruler in a country, what will happen? There is no law and order in the country. If there is no law and order, there is no fear in people's mind. If there is no fear in people's mind, they will be tempted to do things that they would normally not do, right? For example, we know that we have a speed limit of 50 right here. But we know that if we speed, a cop will stop us and he's going to give us a ticket. So that's why we always make sure we maintain the speeding limit. But if there is no speed limit, you know that nobody is going to stop you. Will we follow the speed limit? No, right? We don't know, and we won't even know what is going to happen in the road if nobody follows the speed limit. So that's why a law and order is very important. That's why when they say Arajakam, it means that doing anything that we would normally not do.
But isn't the kingdom better without Venaha crowned as king rather than he being crowned as king?
Yes, Venus is still not crowned yet. We will look at that. Okay. So Angan was a good king, right? So it was under good hands. But now there is no king. If there is no king, people will be kind of tempted to do wrong things, is what I'm trying to explain there. So the Amatyas there. So Amatyas are set of people, right? Intelligent people. What they do is that they advise the king, saying that do this, do that. And if the king does anything wrong, they try to make him come into the right path. And they make sure that whatever decision that the king makes, it is for the welfare of the citizens. So these Amatyas, they saw that, okay, there is no king here. It is open to attack by another kingdom. So we have to crown somebody else as a king. And Venan was the rightful heir to this throne, right? And they didn't want to bring somebody else. And even though Amatyas were not very keen on crowning Venan as the king, they thought, why not give him a chance? Because sometimes when people get additional responsibility, they will become good, right? They'll think, oh, they have given me this responsibility. They trusted me and they gave this responsibility. So I have to make sure that I do this job right, is what people think, right? So similarly here, the Amatyas thought, the ministers thought, maybe if we give additional responsibility to Venan, he would probably change and he will rule well. Maybe there is a chance that he changes. So what they did was they decided to crown Venan. Okay, they wanted to give him a chance because all said and done, he is from the Vamsham of Dhruvan. So Venan was crowned as a king. So can anyone guess, did Venan change or was he still bad?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't change.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are right. Yeah, I was just kidding. Yeah, Venan didn't change at all. He was still being the same wicked person that he was. And the other thing is that even if people came and complained to him, he was like, why do you guys come to me? I don't want to listen to any of your problems. Just get away from me. That's how he was. So the people didn't have fear in their mind. So they know that they started to steal and they started to hurt other people because they know that even if they go to Venan is not going to say anything. They are not going to get any punishment, right? So people started to do all these atrocities as well. And not only that, what this Venan did was he called all the rishis and munis and said that stop all the yaga adi karmas. I don't want you all to do any of these karmas because it is the king who actually has to give the provisions to the rishis and the munis for them to do the yajna karyam, right? If you do, he stopped all those things. So the munis and the rishis tried to talk to this Venan saying that, look, you cannot stop all these things. When you do these yagam and yagyam, Perumal is happy. If Perumal is happy, he will bless us. If he blesses us, the country will flourish and we will have subhiksham everywhere. And 1/6% of the palan from the yagam goes to the king. So you will also get the palan, Vena. So don't stop all these things. But Venan didn't listen to that. He said, who is Perumal? Did you see him? Where is it said in the Vedas? So he started to do this Vitandavadam and question the existence of Perumal. And he declared himself as the superior chief. He said, I am the king. So king is the superior. So if you all have to do anything, do it to me. There is no Perumal, is what he said. Now here our Periyavas say that, right? Compared to Hiranyakashipu and Venan is the worst person, it seems. Because Hiranyakashipu, even though he did Bhagavad Dushanam, he never said there is no God. He only said he was greater than God and he wanted to fight with Perumal. But Venan actually said there is no God. So when you have to look at a Nastikavadi and an Astikan who scolds Perumal, it is the Nastikavadi who is worst. So we have to stay away from Nastikavadis who says there is no God, right? So Venan falls in that category. Then what he said was, na yashtavyam, na datavyam, na hotavyam kvachit, is what he says. This is there in Vishnu Puranam, very famous line where he says, do not do any worship, do not do charity, do not do any homam, anytime, is what he said, and he stopped everything. Now the rishis again tried to change him because it was the responsibility of all these amatyas to actually bring the king back into the right path, right? So they tried to advise him. But as they kept on advising and doing all these things, he got irritated, Venan. He said that you guys are troubling me so much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kill you all because you guys are irritating me. So immediately what happened, the rishis thought, okay, enough is enough. This guy is never going to change. And all these rishis and munis are Brahmavits, right? They have their mantra shakti with them. So with their mantra shakti, they immediately put Venan down because he was troubling them. Here, there is one more niti that I wanted to talk, which explain, which Swami Deshikan has explained in Subhashita Nivi in Driptha Paddhati, where he says, Dhuryanam api satkarye gunashali vimardinam anaghama vidham yuktam apanither nivaranam. So what Swami Deshikan is saying is that Dhuryanam, if somebody is elected as a chief, right, it doesn't have to be for a kingdom, it can be for a small village, a town, a county, anywhere. Somebody is appointed as a leader. And then if they stop other good people from doing good work, and if they don't have any knowledge of Shastrams and the Vedas, then the best thing is to remove that person and appoint somebody else, is what Swami Deshikan says. That's when the country will flourish and everyone will follow the path of Dharma. And here the Rishis and Munis were trying to do that, but Venan went one step further and tried to kill them. So they had to take a action back. And then Venan was always doing this self-praise, right? So whoever does self-praise, you would all have heard this in Mahabharatam for Arjunan, right? They are already considered as dead. And then the other thing is that Venan was also doing Bhagavad Dushana. So whoever scolds Perumal are already considered as dead. Just that the pranan is there in the body, but they are already considered as dead. So here all the rishis did was took the life force out of him, but the Venan was already considered as dead. So what happened was, now again the kingdom is without a king. Okay, it is again open for destruction. Now people started to do even more greater atrocities, because before, what happened when Venan went into the forest, they know that Angan went into the forest, they know that Venan would become a king, but now they know that Venan doesn't have any children, so there's nobody to take the hire, right? And they know that nobody can punish them as well. So that's it, people started to do all these unmentionable atrocities, right? It was so bad that they made the once fertile Bhumi as infertile. Yes, Dakanna, Srimayi.
Can't people just elect another king or something?
Yeah, in those days it was not this voting system, right? So usually it is based on whoever is the first son, right? They automatically get it. And if there is no son for any king, the ministers decide who will actually become the king. That's how it was in the olden days. Okay, so here also the ministers were discussing, okay, whom shall we appoint as the king? In the meantime, what happened was, they made the once fertile land infertile. So Bhumi took all the Oshadis inside her because the atrocities were so bad. Now here I want to talk about the greatness of Bhumi, right? Bhumi Devi, who is the manifestation of Bhu Devi. If not for Bhumi Devi, whatever we are enjoying right now, we wouldn't have it, right? So the building that we are in, it is because of Bhumi Devi that we are able to build a building on top of her and stay here. The place that we are sitting, the food that we are eating, the clothes that we are wearing, everything we are getting from this earth. It is because of Bhumi Devi's anugraham that we are getting it. So we always have to pray to her and not abuse her. In fact, every day before we get up and keep our feet down, we have to say this shlokam, right? Asking for apology to Bhumi Devi for keeping our feet on the ground. Anyone knows this shlokam?
Samudravasane Devi Parvadastha Mandale Vishnupatni Namastubhyam Padasprasham Shasvami.
Very good. Good job. That is the second shlokam. There is one more shlokam. Namostu priya dattaya tubhyam devi vasundhare tvam mata sarva lokanam padasparsham kshamasvame. Basically, we are asking, Amma, you are the Lokamata. You are Vishnu Patni. You are, Vasundhara. So I am keeping my feet on you because I have to do that to do my daily course, right? So I apologize to you. Forgive me for keeping my feet on you is what we say. And then only we proceed our daily task. But what did these people do? They started to abuse her, that the Bhumi became infertile and nothing was happening. The once even land became uneven, and then people started to suffer. Now the rishis were very concerned, right? What do we do? If it goes this way, that's it. Everything will get destroyed. So the rishis thought, maybe they thought, can we appoint somebody else as a king, right? Like Srimayi asked, why don't we appoint somebody else as a king? But then they thought, this is Dhruvan's Vamsham, for whom Perumal was Pratyaksham. Until Angan, all were great kings. How can we bring somebody else into it? But Venan didn't have any children, right? So we cannot appoint anyone. So at that time, what happened? Venan's mother was actually preserving Venan's body through some mantra shakti. So what the rishis did was they asked for Venan's body from his mother, and they decided to produce a son out of Venan's body because they have the mantra shakti, right? So initially what they did, they decided to churn the thigh of Uru, the thigh of Venan, to see if they can produce a son. And a person came out. Once they churned the thigh of Venan, a person came out, a short figure came out, and it was looking very agitated and kept on asking the rishis, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? On looking at that person, the rishis decided that, okay, this person cannot be the king. So they said, Nishida, Nishida, which means that go and sit there, go and sit there. So that person went and sat there. And then the rishis thought, okay, let's try one more time. This time, nothing happened when we churned the Uru, the thigh. Let's now churn Venan's arm, right? The right arm. Let's see if somebody else comes out of it. And then they decided to churn Venan's right arm. And that's when Prithu Maharaja came out of that churning, when they churned Venan's right arm. And then Venan had the Shanka Chakra Rekha on his hand. On looking at that, the rishis and the munis decided that, okay, this guy, Prithu, was born with the anugraham of Perumal. That's why he has the Shanka Chakra Rekha on his hand. And he is going to be a great Parakrami, which means nobody can defeat him. None of the Devatas can defeat him, is what the rishis decided. And then immediately, whoever were there, they all started to praise Prithu. They told everyone, come on, praise Prithu, saying that he is a great king. He takes care of his citizens. Under his rule, the country will flourish. He is a righteous king and all those things, blah, this, that, right? Now a question will be there on our mind. Prithu was just born. He's not even crowned as a king. Why did the rishis and munis praise him like that? Right? For this, our Villivala Maishingar gives a very beautiful explanation. He says that what they want to do is that they want to give a positive environment to Prithu, right? When you keep encouraging someone, saying that, hey, you can do it, you are such a person, come on, do it, right? We will also be motivated to do good work. So here, and also Prithu is not only, even though he's from Dhruvan's Vamsham and he has the Shanka Chakra Rekha on his hand, he's still Venan's son, right? He's Vainyan. So what if some bad quality from Venan gets attached to him? So they want to remove all those things. That's why before even he's crowned as a king, they gave him all the encouragement, they gave him all the positive feeling that one could have, so that when he actually takes the crown and rules, he's not affected by any negative energy. So that's why when we always have to encourage people. When you keep putting somebody down, even if they are skillful, they will not feel confident to do the work, right? But when you keep encouraging someone, even if they are not skillful, that motivation alone will make somebody do the work. So that is the idea here. And then Prithu was actually crowned as the king. Now, after Prithu was crowned as the king, all the people in that kingdom, they came to Prithu and they started to complain to him, saying that, you know what, nothing is happening. We are all suffering. There's no vegetation going on. The cultivation is not happening. The land is infertile. The land is so uneven that we are not able to stay in one building. So we are suffering, Prithu Maharaja. Please save us, is what they said. Prithu Maharaja was shocked. Really, what happened? Why did this happen? Why is the land so infertile? Then he came to know about the atrocities done by the citizens, and then he was shocked. Really, Bhumi took all the Oshadis in, because Bhumi Devi is the epitome of patience, right? She's also called as Kshama, which means that she's personification of patience. And she took her Oshadis in. How is that even possible, is what Prithu was saying. And Bhumi Devi is called as Shama, right? This is taken by Swami Deshikan in Dhaya Shatakam. He says, Vande Vrishagirishasya Mahishim Vishwadharinim Tat Kripa Pratighatanam Kshamaya Varanam Yayam. Is what he says. So Swami Deshikan says, I pray to that Patta Mahishi of Vrishagiri Natha, the Lord of Thiruvenkatam hills. And who is she? She is Vishwadharini. She bears this entire universe. And it is because of her Kshamaya, because of her Kshama, that Perumal's Kripa is flowing to us uninterrupted, because we do so much of papam, right? And if we, with all these papams, if we go in front of Perumal, Perumal is going to turn his face away. But Bhumi Devi is the one who makes sure that Perumal doesn't turn his face away from us, and his Kripa falls on us uninterruptedly. So Prithu thought, okay, I have to do something right because he is the Raja, right? So he thought, okay, let me go talk to Bhumi Devi and see why she did this and make the land fertile again, get all the riches from her again, is what Prithu Maharaja thought. And he decided to talk to Bhumi Devi. But Bhumi Devi realized, okay, Prithu is coming after me to do this, peace talk, right? So what she did was she immediately took a form of a cow and ran away from Prithu Maharaja. Because in those days, nobody will dare touch a cow, right? So that's why she boldly took the form of a cow, because Prithu Maharaja cannot do anything, and she ran away from him. But Prithu Maharaja was also very patient. Wherever Bhumi Devi went, he also followed her. And then at one point, Bhumi Devi realized that, okay, there is no escaping Prithu Maharaja now. And then she stopped, and then she turned and asked Prithu Maharaja, Prithu, why are you even following me? What is it that you need? And then Prithu Maharaja said, Bhumi Devi, you are the epitome of patience. You are the one who has all the riches. You are the one who should nourish us. But if you take all these riches away, what will we do? We will only die. You cannot do like this. How can you even do this? Is what Prithu Maharaja asked Bhumi Devi. Now here, I want to talk about the greatness of Bhudevi, who's the manifestation of Bhudevi in the form of Bhumi, and what Swami Deshikan has praised about her. And in Bhustuti, we will look at few slokams and then come back into the Prithu Maharaja story. Okay. So Bhustuti, before we actually go into the stotrams in Bhustuti, where Swami Deshikan has praised, just few background information about Bhustuti, right? Bhustuti has 33 slokams. And in those 33 slokams, few of the slokams are about Varaha Perumal and Bhumi Devi, right? And then there are few slokams where Swami Deshikan has praised the greatness of Bhumi Devi, and then what happens if you pray to her, and then how she is favorite to Perumal, and all those things. So I have not included the Varaha Perumal and Bhumi Devi part, but the rest other greatness of Bhudevi is what we are going to see in the from the Bhustuti slokams. And the other thing that I wanted to say about Bhustuti is that Bhustuti is a stotram which is set in a very beautiful meter called Vasanta Tilaka. Okay, Vasanta Tilaka is actually a very nice vrittam. Long time back, we saw Shardula Vikriditam, right? The Dashavatara Stotram is in Shardula Vikriditam, which is as majestic as a play of a tiger. What does Vasanta Tilaka actually mean? So Vasanta actually means Vasanta Kalam, or Vasanta Ritu, which means spring season. So the spring season is actually the flowers bloom, it's green everywhere, it looks fresh, it looks young, and everyone loves spring season, right? So this tilakam actually means for the beautiful Vasanta Kalam, the tilakam, whenever you add a tilakam, it enhances the beauty, right? So this poem is actually enhancing the beauty of a spring season, which means that if you write a padyam in Vasanta Tilaka meter, it is very beautiful, very pleasant, and very fresh, and all those things. That's why the vrittam name is called as Vasanta Tilaka. Now, Vasanta Tilaka is a very famous padyam, right? So, few of the famous shlokams which are written in Vasanta Tilaka is Shri Venkata Chalapate Tava Suprabhatam Lakshmi Nrike Sarivibho Tava Suprabhatam. So, all the Suprabhatams are written in Vasanta Tilaka meter, okay, vrittam. And then apart from that, Bhustuti is in Vasanta Tilaka. And even Goda Stuti is in Vasanta Tilaka. And then the icing on the cake is our Mukku Raishingar Staniyan is in Vasanta Tilaka Vrittam. And not only Mukku Raishingar Staniyan, our Prakritam Raishingar Staniyan is also in Vasanta Tilaka Vrittam. Now you all have a question, right? How do we identify whether something is in Vasanta Tilaka or not? That's why whenever you say the shlokam, you always have to say it in a ragam. So at this stage, what you will be able to do is that, oh, these two look the same, so maybe it is in the same chandas. And then later when you do the chandas shastram, Sadi chandas shastram, you'll be able to identify the name of each and every chandas. So for example, we have this, right? Shesha Drishe Karavibho Tava Suprabhatam Lakshmi Nrike Sarivibho Tava Suprabhatam Vishwam Bharama Sharana Sharanam Prapadye Goda Mananya Sharana Sharanam Prapadye Vedanta Deshika Yatintra Maham Prapadye Sri Ranganata Yatisheka Ramashrayama. So you see that, right? The tune is the same. So if you identify the tune, you will know that these are all in the same chandas. And one more tidbit from Sanskritam literature, right? This is only with regards to Sanskritam. In Sanskritam, Mahakavi Kalidasa is the only poet who has written Suprabhatam in his Mahakavyam called Raghuvamsham. He wrote the Suprabhatam for Aja Maharaja, who is the son of Raghu Maharaja. And he is the one who set the Suprabhatam in Vasanta Tilaka Vrittam. Okay, that is one tidbit for you all. So now that we have learned the background of Bhustuti, you all know what Vasanta Tilaka is. Today's dream is fully going to be of Vasanta Tilaka for you all. We will actually go into the Padyams from Bhustuti. So the first Padyam that we are going to see is the 6th shlokam from Bhustuti. Anyone can say this? Sarvam Sahetyam.
सर्वं समेत्यमनिरत्यजयति मातः विष्णुं वरेति विपुलेति वसुन्धरेति अन्यानि चान्यविमुखान्यविधानकृत्य नामान्यमूनि कथयन्ति तवानुभावम्.
Very good. Good job. So here what Swami Deshikan is doing is in this one, Sri Stuti, he calls Tayar as Lakshmi, Padma, Jaladitanaya, Vishnu Patni, Indira, etc. Right? Similarly, he's calling the names for Bhumi Devi here. Right? He says Sarvam Saha. The first name that he calls her as Sarvam Saha. And all these names are not just names for her. Right? She got these names because of a reason. Right? Sarvam Saha. Sarvam Sahate iti Sarvam Saha. One who bears everything. Bhumi Devi bears everything with patience, right? That's why she's called as Sarvam Saha. And then she's called as Avanihi. Avanam in Sanskritam means protection. So Avanihi is she who protects, is what it means. Now Sita Pirati is called as Avanija, right? Because she was born out of Bhumi. That's why she's called as Avanija. Avanehe Jayate iti Avanija. And then Bhudevi is also called as Achala. She's always fixed, constant, right? And then Vishwambhara, Vishwam Bhibarti iti Vishwambhara, one who bears this entire universe. Vipula, she's vast. Vasundhara, Vasudharati iti Vasundhara, she who has all the riches inside her. So iti Swami Deshikan is adding, you are called all these names Tayare. And what do these names do? He says, Amuni Namani Tava Anubhavam Katayanti. All these names talk about your Perumai, your greatness Tayare, is what Swami Deshikan says here. And these fit Bhudevi Tayar so much so that Swami Deshikan says all these names have turned their face away from anybody else. Anya Vimukani Abhidana Vritya. You can call any other Devata as Sarvam Saha, Vishwambara, etc. But these names have turned their face away because it is apt that only Bhumi Devi is called these names. It won't fit anybody else, is what Swami Deshikan says in the shlokam, explaining the greatness of Bhumi Devi and why she got these names. It is a Karana pair for her. After describing the different names for her and why she got those names and explaining the greatness, Swami Deshikan goes ahead and says that, Tayare, we need your kataksham because only you can save us from this samsara sagara heat, is what he says. So this is the 31st shloka. Does anyone know this? Tapatrayim niravadim bhavati dayadraha.
We know. Tapatrayim niravadim bhavati dayadraha. Samsara dharma janitam savadi kshipamtaha madar bhadantu maduramrita varsha maitri maya varaha daite maite katakshaha.
Very good. Good job. So here Swami Deshikan says, Amma, samsara dharma janitam tapatrayim niravadim. So you are the only one. I want your kataksham on me. What kind of kataksham? Dayadraha, that which is full of compassion, right? I want that kataksha to fall on me. Why? Those kataksham is the one which will quickly remove all the afflictions that I have because of the samsara association with this samsara sagaram. The niravadim means limitless, right? The afflictions is not one or two. We have so many, right? So all these things, only your kataksham, if it falls on me, it will quickly remove that. And what else would we do? The tapatrayim is the heat generated because of the samsara sagaram. Your kataksham will be like a nectar rain that is falling on me and will remove all my afflictions and make me happy, is what he's saying. And he calls here as Maya Varaha Daite, O beloved of Varaha Pirumale, who took Varaha Avataram as if it was a play. So here the Maya, you should take it as Leela, right? Is what he calls her, and asks Tayar to shower her katakshams on him. And then after saying that, what Swami Deshikan is saying is that Bhudevi is favorite to Perumal, is what Swami Deshikan declares here in this 10th shlokam. Kanna, can you all say this again? Sambhavayan Madhuripu.
Sambhavayan madhuripo pranayanurodhat Vakshasthalena varunalaya rajakanya Vishwam vare bahumukha pratibhanna bhogaha Sheshatmanatu bhavati shirasa dadhati.
Yeah. So here what Swami Deshikan is saying is Varunalaya Rajakanyam. Remember in Kalasha Jaladija, I said Swami Deshikan calls Tayar, Sri Devi Tayar as Varunalaya Rajakanya, which means Shirabdhi Kanya, Samudra Raja Putri. So what does Perumal do? Perumal is keeping Tayar on his Vakshasthalam, right? Close to his heart. Swami Deshikan says Perumal is keeping Sri Devi Tayar close to his heart because he is so in love with her that he is keeping her in his heart. Like whenever we like something, we say that, right, it is very close to my heart because we like that so much. So here Sri Devi Tayar is so favorite to Perumal that he kept her right in his heart. But you, Vishwambhare, you, Ammave, he kept you on top of his head. Even in Tamil, we say that, right? Talaila vechindu kondadran. So here, that's what Swami Deshikan has translated in Samskritam, saying that Bhavatim Shirasa Dadati. You, Amma, Perumal is bearing you on his head in the form of Adisheshan, and then he is keeping you on his head and celebrating you. So you are favorite to Perumal, is what Swami Deshikan declares in this shlokam. After saying that Bhudevi Tayar is favorite to Perumal, what Swami Deshikan is saying, you are the only one who is capable of making me reach Perumal's Tiruvadi, is what Swami Deshikan says. So who can say this 30th shlokam? Dharma Druham Sakala.
Dharma Druham Sakala Dushkrita Sarvabhaumam Atmana Vignyamanutapalavojitam Mat Vaitana Sukaramatesh Charanaravinде Sarvam Dahena Samarpayitum Kshamatvam.
So Sarvam Sahe, hey Sarvam Saha. If you look at Bhustuti, Swami Deshikan would always address her as Sarvam Saha, Maya Varaha Daite, and although Krida Varaha Daite. So he always addresses her as like this, right? He says, Amma, you are the only one capable of making me reach Perumal's feet. What kind of me? Swami Deshikan is describing himself. He says that Aham Dharma Druhaha. I am one person who doesn't follow Dharma at all. Imagine Swami Deshikan is saying that. So then imagine our plight, right? And this Swami Deshikan says in all the stotranis, even in Daya Shatakam, he says, Ahamasmi Aparada Chakravarti. I am the emperor in doing all kinds of aparadam. Here he says, Dharma Druhaha. I don't follow any dharma. I just ignore the dharma and then do all the adharmams. Sakala Dushkriti Sarvabhaumam. I am an emperor in what? Doing all the things that have been prescribed as no. All the Dushkritis. I am the one who does that. Atmana Bigyam. I have no idea what Brahman is, what Atma is. I don't have any jnanam at all. Anutapa lavojitam, and I don't have even one paschatapam. I'm like this, Abhin, I don't even feel bad. I go on and do these bad things, right? But you are the only one to make such a person attain Perumal's Tiruvadigal. You are the only one who can make me reach, capable is what he's saying, to reach Perumal's Tiruvadi. Vaitana Sukkarapatesh Charanaravinde. Very beautiful usage. Vaitana Sukkarapati actually translates into Yagyavaraha Perumal. Vaitana actually means Yagya, Sukkara is Varaha Perumal. So Charanaravinde, in his Tiruvadi, you are the only one who is capable of making us reach Perumal's Tiruvadigal, is what he says. And this is what Prithu Maharaja, so this shows the greatness of Bhudevi, right? This is what Prithu Maharaja also was talking to Bhudevi, and he was pleading with her, saying that if not for you, we will not survive Tayare. So I promise you that you will not be abused anymore, and we will make sure that we treat you right. This is what he says, and prays to her. Now, if we pray to Bhudevi, what will happen? What does Swami Deshikan say in Bhustuti, right? We will see that, and then we will come back into the story again. So this 26th shlokam, Krida Grihita. Kanna, Vishnu and Sarvesh.
Krida Grihita Kamala Divishesha Chinna Ishranita Bhayakara Matude Sabhutim Daurgatya Durvisha Vinasa Sudanadim Tva Sanchintayam Hilavate Adadikaram.
Very good. So here Swami Deshikan says, what happens if we pray to Bhudevi Tayar? He says, if you pray to her, you will attain the status of Kuberan. Dhanadadikaram. Dhanadan actually means Kuberan. Dhanam dhadati iti dhanadaha. So whoever meditates on Tayar, they will attain the status of Kuberan. And then he's also describing Tayar here. What kind of Tayar? Krida grihita kamaladi vishesha chinna. She has this lotus, lotus on her hand, right? Why is she having that? He's saying Krida grihita, just for Leela. She's having this lotus. If you look at Perumal, he will have Shankh, Chakram, Gada, Ambu, Villu, everything, right? All the Shodasha Ayudams, he will have it. But look at Tayar, she will only have lotus. She will not have any Ayudams. Why? Because Swami Deshikan takes this in Yatiraja Saktatihi. He says, Nityam Agyata Nigraham. Because Tayar is one who has no idea what punishment is. She doesn't even know that. That's why she doesn't have any Ayudams in her hands, right? And then even though this shlokam is for Sridevi Tayar, it is applicable even for Bhudevi Tayar, right? She is the one who saved Kakasuran even after he hurt her, right? So she doesn't know what punishment is. So that's why she's having this lotus on her hand as a plaything. And then what about the other hand? Vishranita Abhayakaram. She's showing the Abhayam through with her other hand. Bhayam means fear. Abhayam is fearlessness. So he says, Kavala Padada, I am there, is what she's doing. Again, he's addressing her as Vasudhe. And then Sabhutim, she is with all riches, is what Swami Deshikan says. And then what else is she? She is Daurgatya Durvisha Vinasha Sudhanati. She is like a nectar-like river that washes away all the Durgatis, all the bad things and the Durvisham, anything bad. She removes that away. She destroys it. So if we meditate on that Bhudevi Tayar, we will attain the status of Kuberan, Dhanadadikaram, is what he says. And then the other shlokam where he says, how does the skillful people, there are many people now skillful, right? And the kings and then Indran and the Dikpalas, other devatas, how do they get the position they are in right now? Swami Deshikan says that is also because of Bhudevi Tayar in this 11th shlokam. So anybody else who can say this shlokam?
I can say the slogan.
Yes.
Krida varaha daite kritina kshitindraha sangrandanastadirephi dishamadeshaha amodayanti bhuvanaya likashritanam ambattadangri rajasam parinama vedaihi.
Very good. So here again he addresses Tayar as Krida Varaha Daite, which is nothing but Maya Varaha Daite, beloved of Varaha Perumale. Kritinaha, skillful people. Kshitindraha, the kings. Sankrandanaha, Indra. Tad itare api, all the other devatas. Dishamadishaha, the Dikpalargar. How are they enjoying the position that they have right now? It is because Twadangri Rajasam Parinama Vedaihi, they fell at your feet, Tayare, and their forehead touched the ground, and the dust particles by praying to you got applied on their forehead, and based on that their fate changed, and that's why they are enjoying all this position that they got, is what Swami Deshikan says. So that is the greatness of Bhudevi. If you pray to her, you will attain greatness. So that's what Prithu Maharaja also did. And then he pleaded to Bhumi Devi, and Bhumi Devi agreed to give all the riches back. So she told Prithu Maharaja that, look, I am in the form of a cow right now. So all the riches, you have to milk it from me. So because I am in the form of a cow. So make sure that the lands are even, and then milk all the riches from me. So that's what Prithu Maharaja did. He made the lands even with his Shakti. And then what he did was he milked all the riches from Bhumi Devi, and that's how Prithu got all the riches back, and the land started to flourish, and it became a fertile land again. And since Prithu extracted everything from Bhumi Devi, Bhumi is also called as Prithvi. Prithoho apatyam stri Prithvi. That's how she got the name as Prithvi. Now here, nowadays, we all say that, right, go green, be environment friendly, and all these fancy words, right? This, long time back, Bhartruhari already gave this advice to all the Rajas there in Niti Shatakam. He already said the go green at that, in those days itself. So this is the Padyam there. And incidentally, this is also in Vasanta Tilaka Vrittam, where he says, राजन्दुदुक्षसि यदीक्षिति धेनुमेनां तेनाद्यवत्समिव लोकममुं पुषान तस्मिंश सम्यगनिशं परिपोष्यमाणे नानाफलैः फलति कल्पलतेव भूमिः. So here he is giving advice to the kings. Raja, if you consider this earth as a cow, and then if you consider all your citizens as the vatsa and as a calf, and then you take care of this, you nourish them, you take care of them, what will happen? The bhumi will become kalpavriksham, and it is going to, like kalpavriksham, it is going to give you different fruits, right? If you take care of it, bhumi is going to take care of you, which is a simple logic, right? If somebody does good to us, we'll also do good to him. If somebody is bad, we are going to stay away from them. And not only that, even at your home, you go plant a seed in your garden and you forget about it, there will only be weeds there. But instead, if you water it, add the fertilizers, take good care of it, you're going to get whatever you want to. So that's the advice that Bhartruhari gives here to all the kings. So, and it's not only just the advice, right? In those days, our Periyavas also gave the advice and they also followed it. So they made sure that they didn't abuse the environment. So that's what Bhartruhari says in this Niti Shatakam Shlokam. And Prithu actually milking all the riches from Bhumi in the form of a cow is so famous that Kalidasa has taken reference to this in his Mahakavyams Kumara Sambhavam. So in Kumara Sambhavam, the first 30 shlokams is Varnanam, description of Himalayas. Right now we have this aerial picture, NASA picture, and all those things, right? We know how everything looks like. But in Kalidasa days, there was nothing like that. But still, Kalidasa has given a vivid explanation of how Himalayas look like. And this is again a Kavi Kalpana, right? We should not question all these things. It is the imagination of a Kavi. So we just have to enjoy it. Where he says, how does Himalayas have all these riches? Kalidasa is wondering. And he's saying, maybe, you know what, the Meru mountain, right? He imagined himself as a milker. The Meru mountain is the milker. The earth is the cow and Himalayas is the calf. So maybe Meru milked all the riches from the earth and gave it to the calf called Himalayas. That's how maybe Himalayas have all those gemstones and all the riches in it, is what Mahakavi Kalidasa says in Kumara Sambhavam. And he gives a upama there. Just like how Prithu once upon a time milked all the riches from the earth, maybe Meru mountain also did. So maybe that's why Himalayas have all these riches in it. He says the last line is Prithu Padishtam Duduhur Daritrim, is what he says here. So the Prithu story is actually very famous in those days. Now, after this, what happened? The land became fertile and everything was flourishing. Prithu was a great king and he ruled righteously for many years. And whenever he was so good, Prithu Maharaja was so good, he was ruling so well and he was well liked by so many people that whenever he walked, you know, the mountains will automatically give way to him. And whenever he walked by the ocean would stop the ways as a mark of respect to him. Now, these things, Adikavi Valmiki Maharishi also has taken it in Ramayanam, right? He says even when Ravana walked, the mountains gave way and the ocean stopped the waves, right? But that was out of fear, because if they don't do that, Ravana is going to trouble them. But here it is not like that. It is voluntarily they are doing it because they had great respect for Prithu Maharaja. And then our Vilivala Maishingar also writes, right, that whatever riches that we enjoy today, right, whatever we are getting from the earth right now, today, is due to the effort of Prithu Maharaja once upon a time. If not for him, then we would not be enjoying the riches that we are having right now, is what he says. And Prithu Maharaja ruled for many years. With this, what we are doing is that we are coming to the end of Prithu Maharaja's story. Of course, in Narayaniam, the story continues. Prithu Maharaja had a great grandson called Prachinabar his. He had the Prachetas, and for one of the Pratechas, Daksha is born, and then to whom Sati Devi is born, and the story continues like that. But since today's topic is only about Prithu, we are stopping the story here. But before that, we are going to look at the Palashruti. Okay, in Vishnu Puranam, what is the Palashruti given for listening to Prithu Maharaja's story? So it says that bad things will never happen. You will never get bad dreams, and listening to the story will make us prosperous, because Prithu got all the riches back from earth, right? So it is going to make us prosperous. But that is in the Vishnu Puranam. We are also going to see what the Palashruti is in Bhustuti, as written by Swami Deshikan, and wind up the session. So this is the 31st shloka. sorry, 32nd shloka in Bhustuti. So can anyone say this? Patyur dakshina pani pankaja pute vinyasta padambuja.
Patya dakshina pani pankaja putte vinyasta padambuja vamam pannaka sarvabhauma sadrisham paryankayanti bhujam potra sparshat satkapola phalaka pullara vindekshana same pushtatu mangalanyanudinam sarvani sarvam saha.
Very good, good job. So this is in Shardula Vikriditam meter, right? Because usually the last two slokams are set in a different chandas than the entire slokam. So here, if you have to ask me what my favorite shlokam is in Bhustuti, it is this, this, and this. Again, Swami Deshikan has given a very beautiful description of how Bhuvaraha Perumal is there, right? So if anyone of you is an artist in this group, please do try to draw this picture of Perumal, Bhuvaraha Perumal. And if you actually do share it with me as well, right? Here, what Swami Deshikan is doing, saying is that Patyur dakshina pani pankaja pute vinyasta padambuja. So Bhudevi Tayar is actually sitting on the left shoulder of Perumal, and Perumal is having his right hand like this. So what Bhudevi Tayar is doing is keeping both her feet on Perumal's right hand. Dakshina pani pankaja pute vinyasta padambuja. She kept both her legs on Perumal's right hand. And then what happens? Vamam pannaga sarvabhauma sadrisham pariyanka yanti bhujam. His left hand Perumal is keeping like this, right? And how is that? That is like a bed for Tayar, it seems. He says pannaga sarvabhaumam. The left arm of Perumal is like a bed for Tayar. And what kind of bed? Pannaga Sarvabhaumam is best among the snakes, which refers to Adiseshan. So it was like Adiseshan, he kept his hand so that she feels she's relaxing in there on the left arm of Perumal. And then what does he say? Potra sparsha lasat kapola palaka pullara vindekshana. And then Tayar's cheek and Perumal's cheek are touching together like this, because of which Tayar is getting these goosebumps, right? Because she's so close to Perumal. And because she's so close to Perumal, her eyes are so big, it seems. Pullara vindekshana. Just like a fully blown lotus, her eyes are so big because of the proximity with Perumal. That Tayar whose eyes are so big because she is with Perumal, who kept her legs on Perumal's right feet, let her, that Sarvam Saha, Anudinam, every day, Mangalani Pushyantu, let her bless us with all the Mangalams every day. Is what Swami Deshikan says. Very beautiful shlokam describing Bhuvaraha Perumal, right? Now, the final shlokam is the Phalashruti in Bhustuti. Kanna, can you say this? Asye Shana Jagata Itiya.
Asya Shana Jagati Itiya Shrudate Vishnupatni Tasya Stotram Virachita Midam Venkateshena Bhaktya Shraddha Bhakti Prachaya Guruna Tasa Samstuvanaha Yachat Kamyam Sabadi Labade Tatra Pratishtham.
Very good. So here Swami Deshikan says, Asye Shana Jagata Itiya Shruyate Vishnupatni. In Shri Stuti also he says that, right? Asye Shana Tvamasi Jagataha Samshrayanti Mukundam. Here also he says the same thing. Asye Shana Jagata Itiya Shruyate Vishnupatni. Again the same chandas because the tune matches, right? Mandakranta. So here he says, Asye Shana. I already gave you the meaning of Ishana, right? Tayar is a lordess by herself. She got the lordship because she is a lordess by herself and not because she is Vishnupatni. It is not only for Sri Devi Tayar, it is also applicable for Bhudevi Tayar. She is famously known as Vishnupatni. Tasyaha stotram virachitamidam venkateshena bhaktya. So her stotram has been written by Swami Deshikan with bhakti, and those who read the stotram of Bhudevi written by Swami Deshikan with Shraddha and Bhakti on their mind, Yadyat Kamyam Sapadi Labhathe Tatra Pratishtham, they get whatever they desire in this life and they attain the steady state, is what Swami Deshikan says. And this is the Phalashruti in Bhustuti. With this, we come to end of today's session. But before we wind up the session, we are going to look into the morals of the story. So what could be some of the morals of the story? I have written 3 morals here, but I would like to really hear the morals from you all. Anyone? So I have always follow the virtuous path, right? Don't be a Nastika, because Venan was a Nastik and at the end he died, right? And don't do Vitandavadam, don't argue. And then be environment friendly. That's what I have. Yes, Srimai, go ahead.
Mine is you should always respect Bhumi Devi.
Exactly. Very good. Good one. You always have to respect Bhumi Devi and you have to take care of the environment. Very good. And then Anirudh.
What you do, you will get in return, because the people were so bad, the Bhumi took in all the riches.
Yes, exactly. Whatever bad you do, don't think that you will escape. You are going to return back. They are going to give it back to you. Very good. Good job. And then. Okay, very good. Yeah. So these are all.
I have a moral.
Soluma.
You have to be responsible.
Yes, you have to be responsible, because especially if you get a high post like a role of a king or a leader, you have to make sure that you do justice to that role. Don't be bad no matter what it is, right? Very good. That's it. That's two. Very good.
Don't do Bhagavata Pacharam.
Yes, exactly. Don't do Bhagavata Apacharam. If the Munis and the Rishis say something, just follow that. Don't question it. You don't have that much knowledge to analyze that. They have done all these analysis, right? Very good. Good job, Aparajitan. Yes, very good. Okay, so with this, we come to the end of today's story session. What I'll do is I'll wrap up the session with Acharya Taniyan. Okay. युगान्त समयोचितं भजति योग निद्रारसं वृषक्षिति बृदीश्वरे विहरण क्रमा जागृति उदीर्ण चतुरर्णवी कदनवेदिनी मेदिनी समुद्धृतवती दये तदभिजुष्टया दंश्रया कवितार्किक सिंहाय कल्याण गुणशालिने श्रीमते वेंकटेशाय वेदांत गुरवे नमः श्रीमते शिवन षटकोप श्री वेदांत देशिक यतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः श्रीमते श्री लक्ष्मी नृसिंह दिव्यपादुका सेवक श्रीवन षटकोप श्री नारायण यतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः श्रीमते शिवन षटकोप श्री रंगनाथ यतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः श्रीमते श्री कृष्णमार्य महादेशिकाय नमः अस्तु धन्यास्मि धन्यवादः सर्वेभ्यः शुभदिनं शुभसायं शुभरात्रिः See you all.
केशवाय नमः।